Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Inner city community residents got a full breakdown of exactly what's included in that over-the-hill development plan.
The PLP deputy leader responds to calls for the party not to run most of its former MPs.
The health minister responds to the latest comments coming from the nurses union.
A man from Abaco was brought before the magistrate's court today to face murder charges.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. Topping news tonight, housing upgrades, free Wi-Fi, major tax breaks, and access to a $25 million investment fund. That's what's in store for those who reside or operate businesses in inner city communities. The six-pillared over-the-hill proposal was dissected during a town hall meeting last night by residents and business owners eager yet skeptical about what's being proposed. Julian Gray reports.
Let me be clear. What you are seeing before you is not just a tax exemption plan, as many persons have described it.
Residents of the inner city packed Bethel Baptist Church last night seeking clarity on the government's over-the-hill rejuvenation plan. The town hall meeting comes 1 week after the Prime Minister tabled a white paper which outlines tax breaks and other incentives for Bain and Grantstown and Centerville.
The white paper outlines a plan to not just give a man a fish, but it presents a plan to teach a man how to fish.
Leading the conversation on tax incentives was Financial Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Marlon Johnson, who said that the incentives are on the scale of any major business deal.
Why can't we get the same kind of deal that a person who entered in the heads of agreement, a big investor would get? Well, this is your answer now. Now you're going to get it.
Back in January, the government announced that it would invest $25 million in development of small and medium-sized businesses. Johnson said a portion of that would be solely dedicated to developing businesses in the inner city.
What that would mean is even very small micro enterprises will now have access to capital. And what we would ask of you is then to come forward and formalize your business. Get registered, because there's no business license fees now.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said while the plan is to provide financial assistance to residents and businesses, the project is so much more.
My vision was broad and included any areas experiencing issues such as high levels of crime, poverty, and social decay. But as we all know, every journey begins with the first step. And what you are seeing tonight is the first step in that process.
The plan will eventually move to St. Barnabas, Anglerston, Gambare, Camp Road, and segments of Fox Hill.
For those persons and businesses outside the Bain and Grantstown or Centerville zone, I say to you, do not lose hope. As this is all new, we are simply beginning a new process to create a blueprint or model. We will reach out to other communities in due course.
Among the tax incentives is a section for duty-free equipment and bonded business vehicles. Both business owners and residents say they're excited about plans for economic empowerment.
With the vehicles, you could bring in your equipment. From time to time, we have to upgrade our computer systems. So I'm hoping that.
I think they were real on target in terms of meeting some of the main things that young business people like us would be looking forward to and trying to make things easy, especially in terms of even the process of getting the business license.
Doing renovations can be very costly, and especially if you want to bring stuff in like materials and appliances, it's very costly. So I think any help could be of a great appreciation to all of us.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Amid questions over the labor component of the Point development in downtown Nassau, a report by the Department of Labor has revealed that there are 73 foreigners and 24 Bahamians presently working on the construction site. However, the heads of agreement calls for the Point's labor component to be 70% Bahamian and 30% non-Bahamian. Despite this, labor officials insist the developer is not in breach of the heads of agreement, as the present phase of the project, which is the erection of the superstructure, requires specialized post-tension concrete structure workers. Labor Minister Dion Folks said in a statement, substantially more Bahamian workers and contractors will be engaged in the ensuing phases. Upon completion, the Point is expected to employ 500 full-time Bahamian workers. Well, 1 year after the Progressive Liberal Party's bitter election defeat, which wiped out nearly 90% of its candidates, Deputy Leader Chester Cooper says voters can expect an extensive level of new candidates the next time around. The Exumas and Ragged Island MP was responding to former PLP MP Philip Galanis, who said most of the party's former MPs shouldn't even consider putting their names forward in the next general election. VAUGHNIQUE TOOTE reports.
On the heels of one former MP's assertion that most of the PLP's former MPs should not run again, Deputy Leader Chester Cooper admitted today that he'd like to see more new faces than old ones in the next general election.
Yes, we're going to
Yes, you'd like to see more new faces than old faces.
We're going to see a lot of new faces join our team to run in the next general election. I'm supremely confident that Bahamians will see faces they identify with, faces they will get to know, but there will be an extensive level of new candidates in the next general election. I'm confident in saying so.
Cooper's comments follow calls by former MP Philip Galanis for the PLP to reform what he called an archaic candidate selection process and introduce 19 standards for candidates moving forward. Galanis said he can only think of 2 or 3 ministers under the last Christie administration who will satisfy that standard, which he says includes being free of scandal and consistently demonstrating good and sound judgment. Cooper says he has personal views but will reserve them for the newly formed Candidates Committee.
I'm not going to preempt the work of the Candidates Committee. This is the authority that will determine who runs in the next general election. I have a view. I will share it with I'll share my view with the candidates committee. Sometimes, family fight, but the PLP family we don't fight in public. So the reality is that we have a very open dialogue on the issue of candidates, and as deputy leader, I have a forum to express that internally.
The PLP endured its most crushing defeat yet last May when the party saw all but 4 of its candidates wiped out in the 2017 general election. Cooper says the party got voters' message loud and clear and will do whatever it takes to regain their trust.
We are going to look to put to the Bahamian people an attractive team of candidates that's representative of the demographics of the Bahamas. We're going to see how we can get more millennials involved with politics. We're going to ensure that women have their place at the table. No doubt there will be a broad cross-section of candidates. Some will be young, some will be older, some will be new, and no doubt there will be some from the past.
Though just 1 year has passed since the last general election, Cooper, a political newcomer himself, says he has made it his mission to recruit prospective candidates. He noted that while the FNM put forth many new candidates, many of whom were elected to Parliament on a wave, voters are already feeling buyer's remorse.
Notwithstanding that many of the candidates in the last general election were new, they were elected in grand form. There's a great level of discontent. There's disquiet about the economy. There's a great level of disappointment. So what we really want to do is be ready to govern.
Reporting for our News, I'm VAUGHNIQUE TOOTE.
In other news, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands is optimistic about the outcome of Friday's meeting between officials from the Public Hospitals Authority and Bahamas Nurses Union. Following that nurses' sick-out, which left several public health care facilities understaffed on Monday, Sands is calling for calm heads to prevail. Jasmine Brown has that.
Sands disagreed with Ferguson's statement, insisting his message needs to be toned down as both sides need to come to the table and work out a viable agreement.
Words mean something, and you know, we have a challenge in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas with conflict and conflict resolution, and I think as leaders, our thrust every single day ought to be to turn the temperature down. We need to set examples for the people of the Bahamas.
Pointing to Monday's sick-out, which saw over 200 nurses call in, Ferguson said all is not well in the public healthcare system. Sands called his comments unfortunate, adding that this approach is getting old. The back and forth comes as Public Hospitals Authority and union officials prepare to meet on Friday in an effort to work out nurses' long-standing issues. Sands says he is optimistic about that meeting, while Ferguson says nurses are just anxious to finally be heard.
The Ministry of Health and all of its agencies, all of its organs, PHA, Department of Public Health, are quite prepared for a sincere, open hand to deal with any outstanding issues, real or perceived. There is absolutely no need for us to maintain any level of hostility.
The health minister says it's time for the tough talk to stop and the issues be worked out.
The leaders cannot resolve matters without explosive consequences. Then what does that say to the young people? What does that say to the people on the street? And so I would encourage union leaders to understand that this administration wants to see a different approach from all of us moving forward.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A 31-year-old man has been charged in connection with a recent murder on Abaco. Giorgio Bain has the details.
Following a murder in Abaco that left a young father dead, officers of the Central Detective Unit brought the accused before the magistrate's court today to face charges.
31-year-old Anardo Major of Dundastown, Abaco, appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt in Court Number 9 to answer to the charge of murder. It is alleged that on April 27, 2018, Major, being concerned with another while in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, by means of unlawful harm, did cause the death of 23-year-old Perez Dames. According to police reports, officers were called to the area of Charles Sawyer Highway in Marsh Harbor, where they discovered the body of a male with an apparent gunshot wound to the head. The man was pronounced dead on the scene. In court Thursday, Major was not required to enter a plea to the charge and was denied bail. The case will be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court by way of a voluntary bill of indictment. He returns to court on July 3rd. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
In just 2 days before they shut down the big stage on Night 2 of Bahamas Carnival 2018, DJ KHALED and SOCA king MACHEL Montano are in town and are promising carnival lovers a fete they won't forget. Kyle Joaquin has that.
Trust me, you don't want to miss this Saturday night Marshall Bun the place now.
They're promising a show to remember. Miami's finest DJ KHALED to host the biggest concert event of the year in the Bahamas, headlined by the SOCA king himself, MACHEL Montano.
I don't want to call it makeup because you showed up.
Right.
You showed up. This is where the people like, they had to go because of the rain, but this time it's like, we gonna bring the rain. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna make it rain in a way that I think gonna reverberate around the whole world. The Bahamas is a beautiful place. You have the Junkanoo, you have the Carnival coming together right now. And of course you have, hip hop and what KHALED represents coming into view. I think this is going to be the best year ever.
Carnival kicks off tomorrow night with Destra, Ultimate Rejects, and the Bahamas' own Sketch Carey. Then Saturday night, DJ KHALED plays host as MACHEL Montano. Jamaica's Mr. Vegas, Ricardo Drew, Rick Carey, Dyson, and Wendy take the stage.
Every year I have the music that is the experience. My music is experiential. When you come and you hear Soca Kingdom in Trinidad and Jamaica, you want to know what it will feel like in the Bahamas. You understand what I mean? Because we haven't come here yet.
And we've all seen the video of KHALED purchasing a $34,000 diamond Rolex for his son Assad. The DJ said he couldn't enjoy paradise without him.
Listen, Carnival in Bahamas, for me, first of all, I want to say I love the Bahamas. Bahamas, Nassau, I love Nassau. I love the whole Bahamas, but Nassau is like a home to me, real close to Miami. I'm looking to buy land out here. Hopefully to build a house or buy a house.
Studio.
You know what I'm saying? Everything, just to live, you know what I'm saying? Just to embrace the the love that Bahamas have.
Calantra Media is behind the concert series for this year's Bahamas Carnival. Sebastian is the spokesperson.
Sales are going amazing thanks to these two generals right here. You know, the king of soca and the king of hip hop in one stage.
They call us sell-off.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Ticket sales has been phenomenal. This is definitely going to be the biggest carnival the country has seen to date. And you know, like our slogan is, the fete continues, and it will continue to continue. And we're going to make it bigger and bigger every year. KHALED has pledged to try to be a part of as many carnivals as he possibly can. And you know, Carnival and Carnival, the king of soca, the man right here.
Locally.
I just gotta say this. Sebastian, if you bring Rihanna, make sure you bring me too. You know
me too.
Now again, ticket sales are said to be going quite fast, but it's not too late to get your hands on a pair. The big show takes place this Saturday on Clifford Park. For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Still to come on our news, PAHO supports the Bahamas in its fight for healthier citizens. That and more when our news returns.